Ambassador Tomas Kafka, Ambassador Boaz Modai, Deputy Ambassador Nurit, Lady, now I don't think I pronounced it right when I spoke to you, is it Milena? Milena. Lady Milena, our guest of honor this evening, friends, ladies and gentlemen. The Jewish Historical Society, in cooperation with the Irish Jewish Museum, the Czech Embassy and Dublin City Libraries, is delighted to welcome you to this symposium dedicated to Sir Nicholas Winton, who celebrated his 104th birthday last weekend, and we'll hear a little bit more about that, I'm sure, later. Some of you will have watched one or both of the movies that were screened yesterday and today at the Rathmines Library. Those of you that did will agree that both of them, the fictionalized version of the story and the documentary, just very, very moving. So, without further ado, I would allow me to invite Ambassador Tomas Kafka to welcome you. The ambassador said yes to my suggestion for co-hosting the symposium before I had finished my sentence. Thank you.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, milá paní Mileno, dear friends, dear Janky, many thanks for hosting this symposium. Janky mentioned so little bit how this whole process took place. I can just hope so it was not too impolite that I didn't let him finish his sentence. But it was for me from very beginning a huge issue here, so to organize something with Janky, with the Jewish community here, and as it was somehow all of a sudden obvious that our common denominator could be even Sir Nicholas Winton, so then I was very much pleased. And the only small stain so on our today's organization is that my good friend David Stecher and neither the director of the films about Nicholas Winton, Matěj Minář, couldn't make it to be here with us. The first one, let's say so, rather for a negative reason, so because David Stecher became all of a sudden fell victim so to a very unpleasant disease, but nonetheless he is sending his best regards. And Matěj Minář maybe for a more pleasant reason, because he is at the current time in Cannes where he's promoting his work. So that it was a big dilemma, Dublin or Cannes, but yes, he can. But nonetheless, it's for me really something special, and I can just hope so that it's not a one-off event, but that we will find a lot of other events and maybe pretexts so to continue and to organize maybe the next time something maybe even in our embassy. Now something changed acoustically, so should I somehow rise to my task here? Normally it was foreseen that David Stecher or somebody else from the film industry should give a speech so about the whole story about rapprochement between Sir Nicholas Winton and the Czech and Slovak filmmakers, but that won't happen. And instead of it, I would like to share here with you some thoughts about what Nicholas Winton is meaning to us Czechs, who are generally seen as very maybe skeptical and maybe a little bit cold noses, but maybe it's not as bad as you may see us from time to time. And one of the reasons why we could find still some good reasons so for rising above us is to be privileged so to meet people like Sir Nicholas Winton. One of the famous quips by the German theoretical revolutionary and witty playwright Berthold Brecht stated that happy are the nations that don't need to have heroes anymore. The problem with Brecht's statement is that the very points he undoubtedly scored were too often proved incorrect later on in practice. The state of our society, or as we are used to being told, where we are where we are, doesn't provide Brecht and his followers with any fertile ground for maintaining their higher ground, the moral higher ground anymore. So why is that? It's the context what changed. Nowadays, we are happy and privileged to live in a relatively safe piece of world where nobody's life is threatened in a classical way or a way Bertolt Brecht was used to have it anymore. But are we happy enough to give up on our hope for having some heroes around? I'm afraid that the function of Brecht's quip could be only seen as theoretical currently. His creator either overestimated our potential for happiness or underestimated the impact heroes may have on the moral of a relatively safe society. Brecht's concept of a hero is a result of his experiences with world conflicts and to different versions of totalitarian societies that tried to perfect the formula of eternal political victory. A hero was, following the logic of the beginning of the 20th century, the one who could make a difference on the battlefield. Anything else, which is nowadays called a soft target, came in second place to the necessity to secure a victory. Victory was, of course, even then not everything, but without victory, everything was too quickly sentenced to be nothing. That is perhaps the reason why Brecht hoped for a world without heroes. He must have seen them just as an attribute of a belligerent world, a kind of necessary good conditioned by an unnecessary evil. The disappearance of heroes and the reason for their existence could be, following this logic, regarded as a hint that his whole confrontational context is over and gone for good. Yet the world is not based upon logic, and the general comprehension of what it means to be a hero evolves. 100 years after the outbreak of World War I, we may generalize that the concept of a hero moves, in public perception at least, from being a winner to being a lifesaver. We can only hope that this context won't change too soon. But it's one thing to accept that there is no conflict between a relatively safe society and the need for heroes, and another to recognize and cherish the real heroes when we are lucky enough to come across them and their deeds. Our problem is, unfortunately, that we are used to spending so much time on our doubts and hesitations regarding the supposed message and motives of our heroes that it's often too late for us to act adequately and help them with their mission in time. A Czech poet, Ladislav Dvořák, who happened to be also godfather of my brother, wrote a parable about an inhuman horse which impressed with its naked existence to such an extent that those seeing it simply lost their ability to accept it as something real. They were simply perplexed by what they saw, and maybe they even didn't mind being perplexed at all, since perplexed people are usually forgiven for staying and wondering instead of becoming active and stepping up to the new situation. This sense is perhaps nothing we can be proud of afterwards, but in the real time, it's simply human. It is more human, I dare to say, than bringing the inhuman horse some water or fodder just in case that it may need it. Unfortunately, our failure to accept an inhuman horse and cherish its existence didn't make this horse simply disappear. The good news is that it exists nonetheless. And even better is that this good news doesn't just appear in parables, and then we are often given more than just one chance to recognize a great individual in our lives and to help him with his mission, at least to a small extent. Sir Nicholas Winton, or as he is announced in our program, the man who saved hundreds of children from death in the Holocaust, is one of the real heroes whose mission is definitely worthy of being followed. He was 104 years old last Sunday, yet his deeds and legacy seem to resonate within the younger generation even more than within his contemporaries, who perhaps spend way too much time considering the real possibility of his existence. The sad truth is that people like Sir Nicholas were a very rare species in the course of the 20th century, and I'm afraid that they may remain as such in this century too. But it shouldn't be a place for pessimism. Instead of pondering how many like Sir Nicholas Winton we may find, or why there aren't more like him, I would like to express my gratitude for the existence of Sir Nicholas and all the great deeds he accomplished in his life. The story of Sir Nicholas Winton can be recapitulated as follows, with this excerpt from a website campaigning for Nicholas Winton being awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. In 1938, Winton had decided to holiday in the Alps. However, after his friend phoned him and described the situation in Czechoslovakia and asked for help, Winton changed his plans. Although Winton had other responsibilities, he immediately went to Prague with only one goal: to help the endangered people. In Prague, Winton created an office and contacted international embassies to secure asylum for as many at-risk Czechoslovak citizens as possible. The only positive response came from Great Britain. All other countries had closed their borders. However, British ambassador was given strict conditions concerning the transport of Jewish citizens to Great Britain. British borders would only allow children through, and £50 per child had to be paid. Winton's office, situated in a typical Prague house, began to fill the parents who wanted to save their children from the Nazi danger. Archives with photos of all registered children were made. These photographs were later printed in British newspapers for British families wanting to adopt Czechoslovak children. Time was against the Winton team, and thus everything had to be done quickly. Even all the children, when all the children were registered and British families had chosen the children for whom they would provide asylum, Nicholas Winton faced the final and most difficult task: to ensure all passengers' visas and safe transport. Winton's team realized the situation was so desperate that they decided to falsify the visas and thus increasing the danger. In spite of all these 7 trains and 1 plane successfully managed to get to Great Britain via Germany and France, where the children came to safety and were given a new home. The final 9th train with 250 children didn't reach Britain or leave the Prague railroad station because of the breakout of the war on the 1st of September 1939. Despite the unsuccessful dispatch of the last train, Nicholas Winton saved 669 Czechoslovak children. In the light of this impressive story, I feel encouraged to slightly correct the legendary quip by Berthold Brecht that I mentioned at the very outset of my speech. Happy are the nations which can recognize and respect their heroes before too late. Thank you very much. just somehow there is not so much what needs to be said anymore, but one small thing nonetheless. Thank you very much, Milena, and thank you very much, Janki. It's not easy somehow to deal with the both entities, with the historical context and with the private memory. But in order so not to be perhaps so frustrated, so with the tensions which may from time to time appear, there is maybe a small ventile for all of you, maybe as the first lesson we may learn from our beautiful gathering today. And it's the fact so then some Czech pupils are running again a campaign for Nicholas Winton being awarded the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize. Sorry. So occasionally it's the question: so who deserves more somehow attention, whether the candidate or the prize by itself? So because maybe I don't think so that Nicholas Winton needs it truly. So because he is a hero and he is a character. Maybe occasionally I'm rather afraid so that that the Nobel Prize award needs a little bit so to get some reputation from time to time. But if you would like to do something for this, I'm repeating again, so it's an initiative embraced by the students of the boarding school in Czech Republic, then there is an online petition where everybody could sign up. Maybe so similarly literated with the technical tools like Janki. So therefore I won't try now so to tell you what's the link and how to log in, but I brought at least so couple of copies. So where is the text, not the text, where is just the link to the petition. So if you will feel up to it, so nobody is forced of course, but it's just so an idea. And otherwise, thank you very much for everything. And once again, so it was really for me a great moment, not only of my staying here, but in general. Thank you very much.